We need Spartan 110.
The Xbox Live Party Podcast. What is going on, everybody? Hello and welcome back. I am your boy Redders, and today we are doing something new and exciting. Today we're doing a game review. Now this is going to be the first video in a new series of videos called Redders Reviews. And for episode 1, I thought I would review Far Cry 6. Now, Far Cry 6 came out a month ago. I believe it launched on October 6th here in the UK. And it's developed and published by Ubisoft. Now, a lot of you will know this already, but I am a huge fan of the Far Cry series. Open world sandboxes are my jam. And now that I've completed the game, I feel like I can give a good, honest opinion on things that I didn't like and things that I did like. And everything in between. So, without further ado, get yourself comfortable because we are about to get into it. So here we go then, guys. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, I just want to give you a brief overview of what Far Cry 6 is all about. In Far Cry 6, you play as a young Yaran called Danny Rojas, who has recently left the Yaran military and is looking to flee the country in order to escape the oppressive regime of Anton Castillo. However, in true Far Cry fashion, due to the events that unfold at the start of the game, Danny gets thrust into this position of becoming a guerrilla for the freedom fighter movement Libertad, and they get tasked with recruiting other guerrillas from across Yara in order to overthrow the Castillo Empire. Now, this isn't going to be an easy task, as Yara is broken down into 3 main regions, with each region playing a significant role in both the production of an alleged cancer-curing drug called Viviro, and also in funding the Castillo Empire. Along the way, you will uncover the dark secrets of Viviro's production and just the sheer staggering costs that it's having on not only the people of Yara, but also the country of Yara itself. So now that you have a basic understanding of what Far Cry 6 is about, I'm just going to get into things that I thoroughly enjoyed about the game. So you've probably read by now, or at least noticed, that the main antagonist of the game, Anton Castillo, is played by none other than Giancarlo Esposito, who is an incredible actor that has played such memorable roles as Gus Fring in the hugely successful TV series Breaking Bad, as well as Moff Gideon in the recent hit show The Mandalorian on Disney+, and his performance in Far Cry 6 is certainly one of the more memorable things about the game. He has this uncanny ability to portray the lunatic role exceptionally well, and I feel like he showcases that once again within this game, and I feel like his casting for this role was the perfect choice. The country of Yara itself is absolutely enormous, and it's beautiful, and it's enriched with really vibrant and colourful landscapes and vistas that are really aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And at 60 frames a second, you do get a really nice buttery smooth experience. Now, I've always believed that nothing ruins a game faster than a shoddy frame rate, and drops in resolution are nowhere near as noticeable as, say, 30 frames a second, or even FPS stutters, at least for me personally. And I'd like to see more developers try and hit this 60 FPS target instead of pushing higher resolutions. I really do believe that 60 frames a second does offer a much nicer gameplay experience. The game does, however, suffer from significant screen tearing, which does become pretty noticeable, especially in built-up areas and areas with dense foliage, but hopefully Ubisoft can address this issue in an upcoming patch like they did with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I'm sure if you've got a TV with variable refresh rate, this won't be an issue. Now, it's worth noting that I played this on an Xbox Series X and not a PlayStation 5, so I don't honestly know if the PS5 handles the screen tearing issue any worse or any better. Another thing that I really loved about Far Cry 6 was its characters. I found them all to be very fun and interesting, and they all have their own individual stories to tell too, which makes it really easy to become emotionally invested into their overall story arcs. I was really impressed that Ubisoft decided to include a character that was trans, that not only had to transition in Yara and face all the challenges that come with that process, but also the difficulties that come with being trans in such an oppressed society. And this particular character also goes on to become one of the more badass characters in the game too, which is really great to see. And I feel like Ubisoft did a really great job in representing transgenders in this game. Now, like Far Cry 5's Guns for Hire feature, Far Cry 6 gives you the option to choose from one of 5 different amigos to fight alongside you, which bring unique and stylized perks to the table, which allows the player to really have the right companion for his or her playstyle. 2 of the more memorable amigos are Chorizo, who is a paralyzed dachshund that just oozes cuteness, so it makes it easy to see why they basically used him as the poster child for this game. Chicharron has one of the best storylines in the game, in my opinion. He gets introduced as this insane rooster with with a thirst for blood and revenge against the Yaran military. And his intro quest chain is just incredibly funny and entertaining to watch. However, I found that once I unlocked the Ghost Cat Aluzo, the game became considerably easier overall, and I would even go as far to recommend that Ubisoft nerfs her to some extent, because she could single-handedly take out an FND base or checkpoint by herself without the need for the player to ever really get involved at all. So if we can move on from characters and amigos, there is a vast amount of guns available within Far Cry 6, and I believe it's the largest collection of guns to ever appear in a Far Cry game. And the gunplay itself feels considerably smoother and more responsive than previous Far Cry titles. And most of these guns can be customized too, which really allows the player to choose the right gun to suit their own individual playstyle. However, I feel that a lot of the mods for these guns fall quite flat. For instance, if you prefer a stealth approach like I do, ideally you want to have a suppressor on your weapon. However, in Far Cry 6, the suppressors can overheat rather quickly, even with mods designed to greatly reduce the rate at which they overheat. So your gun can go from being perfectly suitable for stealth 1 second to alerting every enemy in the nearby vicinity the next. And this led me to abandoning the stealth approach altogether and then just adopting a more run and gun like playstyle. And as we talk about weapons, one of the biggest new additions to Far Cry 6 is the introduction of Supremo Packs. Now, Supremo Packs are essentially backpacks that offer the same level of overkill as, say, an ultimate ability in another game, and you can use these when things are getting a little bit too dicey. Again, I feel like these make the game a bit too easy, especially the Rocket Barrage Supremo that can auto-lock and kill large groups of enemies, so you never really feel like you're in any danger. And another new feature that was added in association with weapons that I wasn't particularly fond of is the introduction of different ammo types such as soft target and armor piercing, which are meant to be more effective or less effective against specific enemy types. And in previous Far Cry games, these could be adjusted on the fly. However, in Far Cry 6, you can only change these at a workbench, which feels unnecessarily inconvenient. Also, you would expect an armor-piercing round to be a one-shot kill on a soft tissue target. However, it doesn't matter which gun you use or which ammo type you use in that gun. Anything less than a headshot in Far Cry 6 doesn't result in a one-shot kill, and this is even true with the game's most powerful sniper rifle. And as I continue to touch on things that I didn't particularly like about Far Cry 6, one of these things is the removal of the traditional skill tree system, and now players can go out into the world and find gear with perks and benefits on, as opposed to normally acquiring these abilities through skill tree progression. And this has clearly been done to allow Ubisoft to peddle in-game purchases, where players can spend real money on acquiring overpowered gear, weapons, and even cosmetics. And this has been seen in other Ubisoft titles such as Assassin's Creed and The Division, and it leaves me somewhat concerned about the future of these beloved franchises as they look to become live service games. And like most Ubisoft games, Far Cry 6 suffers from the same usual game bloat that you can associate with Ubisoft titles. The game is filled with collectibles, side missions, Grand Primo races, treasure hunts, and other distractables that mask the fact that the main story of the game can be completed within 15 to 20 hours. The rest of your time is spent wasted on these additional things to do, and I'd rather they gave me a strong 40 to 50 hour campaign with 10 hours worth of side activities, instead of giving me a 15 to 20 hour campaign with 30 to 40 hours worth of side activities. I feel like in a game like Far Cry, where you have this massive open world with tons of potential, the campaign should be the centerpiece and everything else should fall behind it. Instead, I felt like the main campaign was masked behind all these extra things to do. Which leads me to my next issue with Far Cry 6. I feel like too many of the game's missions rely too heavily on go here and kill that, or go there and collect this style of mission design, and that gets pretty tedious as the game goes on. I think Ubisoft has missed another opportunity to step outside of their comfort zone and develop missions that are both original and also refreshing. But don't let these little nagging issues that I have with the game dissuade you from playing it. It's still a very fun and very enjoyable experience, and it's definitely one of the stronger entries into the Far Cry franchise. I just would have liked to have seen Ubisoft try and do something new and unique, considering that this is the first Far Cry game to launch on the next-gen consoles. But if you're like me and you enjoy these open-world sandboxes, then definitely check it out. You won't be disappointed. So there you have it, guys. That concludes my review of Far Cry 6. And although the game doesn't really do anything significantly different from its predecessors, and while some of the changes towards the game's mechanics are questionable at best, it's still a very enjoyable, very strong entry into the Far Cry series. It still has all the thrills, spills, and bloodshed that you would expect in a Far Cry game. And if I had to give it a score on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 7.5. I feel like that's about where it sits for me. Now, if you've enjoyed this video or if you found it insightful in any way, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy this kind of content, then don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I have many more review videos planned for the upcoming months, so make sure that you don't miss any. But for now, happy gaming, have a great week, and I will catch you in the next one.